This episode is brought to you by our upcoming free live workshop, From Panic to Peace, a Catholic game plan to escape debt and start saving again.
A 27-year-old Catholic woman sparked a firestorm on Reddit when she asked why so many Catholic men seem to lack financial ambition while simultaneously wanting large families. Have we confused gospel poverty with financial irresponsibility? Find out in this episode of The Catholic Money Show. This is going to be a fun episode.
Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy.
We're going to ruffle some feathers, and then we're going to ruffle some more. I couldn't think of another analogy there. Poke something.
Sure.
Is there something there? I can't access the analogies.
Feathers will be rearranged.
Yes. This is, I don't know how I came across this Reddit thread. I don't know how I come across most Reddit threads. It was probably a result in something I was searching for online at some point. And I remember copying the link and thinking, this is going to make a really good podcast episode for someday.
Yes.
Well, someday is today. Someday is today. And I think this conversation piggybacks really well with our conversation we had recently about the student loan issue.
Yes.
Student loans crushing a lot of young Catholics, young Catholic families in particular, graduating from Catholic colleges with large amounts of private student loan debt, not federal loans, etc. So this will dovetail with that conversation. I think there'll be some common themes. And then we'll just kind of take it from there. I don't know everything that you're going to think or say about this episode.
Do you ever know everything I'm going to say?
Well, no, not really. And then you don't know everything I'm going to think or say. And you're a little bit just on the journey with us here.
Do it.
Those of you who are listening in, I'm going to read part of the Reddit thread because we all know those things can get long.
Yes.
I'm going to read part of it and I'm going to summarize part of it. All right, here it was. Just curious, I'm a 27-year-old female. I've noticed that there seems to be an overwhelming view among Catholics that wealth or even living comfortably is sinful or to be avoided. I find there is a huge lack, especially among Catholic men, to pursue careers that are lucrative or can provide for a family. I find this crazy considering Catholicism is one of the only groups that encourages large families due to its teachings on being open to life, NFP, not contracepting. Of my friends who are married, a large majority of them have the wife as the breadwinner. I'm not saying this is always bad, but the husbands have a real lack of motivation or drive, and many of them are running into real challenges about childcare, being able to be home with their babies or children. I also find amongst many people my age getting married that are financially being floated by their parents, and that this is how they get by, or families are in long-term debt that they will not get out of. Before anyone thinks I'm money-focused or for wealth or status, let me give some background. And then she goes into giving background. This is where I'm going to summarize. She's the oldest of 7, had some siblings with special needs, grandparents, hadn't saved for retirement, ended up having their own struggles and needs. Her dad ended up deciding that the career trajectory he was on was not going to be adequate for the family needs or the extended family needs. So he went back and essentially changed his education to put him on a different career path that would actually financially be able to absorb all of the responsibilities he had coming his way. And how this has now been a blessing. It was a blessing for her and her siblings and her grandparents growing up. It's a blessing to her parents now. They didn't have luxury cars or lavish vacations or a mansion. They were very humble within their means, prudent, good stewards, but they did make a lot of money because they had to take care of their family properly. So then at the end of it, she's saying, you know, I'm a nurse professionally. I'm going to die on the hill that while money doesn't solve your problems, it certainly makes them easier. I also believe that anytime you open yourself up to new life and caring for people, you are signing up to provide for their needs. As a final tangent, I see this a lot in Catholic guys I meet and date, and the lack of ambition is something I really struggle with. All right, let's get into it.
Get it, girl.
There's a few things that are kind of at the top of this. You could really bubble it down, boil it down.
Just bubbles when you boil.
let's talk about that lack of ambition.
Okay. Maybe you were searching lazy husbands when you came across.
Oh, man. Well, I don't know if I was searching that. I don't know if I'd call you lazy. I'd call you forgetful.
That's the way to say it, Henry. Thank you.
Anyway, you're not online like I am. I mean, I'm not overly online.
The internet
but I'm
I
not
see is
offline.
a very different internet than you see.
That's true. Jonathan logs on and sees Japanese people making cakes.
Awesome, cool, funny looking breads. I see some graphic design stuff, cool 3D printed things, stand-up clips, and baseball highlights.
Yeah, that's about it.
What I get.
Totally different.
The internet's great.
Totally different world than I'm seeing, that I'm in. I'm not seeing it from a male perspective, okay? So, couple things. I am seeing the lazy husbands, the idiot husbands,
The posts complaining about.
Oh, yeah. I'm seeing the disgruntled wives that they've got one foot out the door and all the comment thread is divorces, but, you know, that's pretty much it. I see a lot of young women. I mean, didn't we all? I'm looking for a guy in finance.
Oh,
Trust
that
fund.
lady. Yeah.
Yeah, that I see a lot of, on the flip side of it, I see a lot of young women that are overly focused on materialism. And women that are, 23 that are basically like, you don't have a trust fund, you're not making 6 figs, bye. We're not even going on a date. This is not happening.
I see 6 figs.
I'm seeing that type of attitude. Or if you're not working out, you're not ripped, you're not.
Yeah.
It's essentially there's this if you're not the full package at 22, don't even attempt to slide into my DMs. Don't ask me to go to coffee. We're over before it's begun. So I'm seeing it's not bad that women are raising their standards.
Sure.
Let's have standards. Absolutely. But let's make sure the standards are the right ones. And then let's make sure we have appropriate metrics of when these standards might be reasonable to have been met.
Sure.
If a guy just graduated a month ago and got his first job, I mean, he's probably got a strong future ahead of him, likely making 6 figures, but it could take a couple of years to get there. Okay. I'm definitely seeing this overly materialistic young women for sure. And I am also, and I'm not seeing it from the guy's perspective. And so I can't speak to it. And you're not online enough to see this either. But the stories I'm hearing.
Well, even if I was online a fair bit, I don't think I'd be following all these women.
Just, it doesn't take a rocket science. A lot of men now, young men, even good Catholic men, they have fallen into the traps of our days. Sure. Spending way too much money online.
Time
online. Maybe time playing video games. Time's just kind of on a screen.
And this isn't to say it's all people. And the things you said about the women we're not necessarily saying about the woman who wrote this book.
No,
We're taking what she said and we're kind of zooming out because I think some of the things that she saw and bringing up in this post are happening.
I think they're cultural problems.
True, but not for everyone. And so we're zooming out a little bit and have a broader conversation.
Yes.
We're not saying this lady is some, materialistic jerk.
Nope.
Doesn't seem like that from the post.
No.
But that is a trend. And of course, if that's the way the world is, if that's the tea in which we are steeping ourselves, it's going to run off. It's going to soak into us, even if just a little bit.
Thank you for saying that. Thank you for providing that. Yeah. So I can't really speak to the young men. I don't hang out with 22-year-old guys. I don't even talk to them. Where would I even have conversations outside of our community and our Catholic Money Academy?
Yes.
And those 22-year-old men, they are the guys. They're the ones getting their ducks in a row early. Anyway, so I do see online though women saying, yeah, the bar is basically -10. Guys they're barely even texting to ask you out. They're just never going to call you up, let alone go to your face and ask you out on a date.
That's
just
crazy.
A lot of struggles. And yeah, they're living in their mom's basement. They're being floated by their parents. They don't know what they want to do when they grow up. They're not exercising. They're not eating right. They're just kind of floating around. And so, yeah, we've kind of got
Sounds like it's
And then-
easier than ever to get a date as a guy.
it's like, see, women, they're high standards, and why would I even compete for them?
Oh, she wants me to comb my hair, wear pants.
It might be there. That might be the level, guys. I did listen to an interesting episode. I don't know if it was on Lila Rose's podcast sometime over the summer or she was a guest on someone's, but it was a talk and a conversation on the Catholic dating scene of different Catholic content creators kind of in their 20s talking about this. So if anybody wants to dive deeper into that particular niche, there's already conversations out there happening. Maybe we should have listened to that earlier.
But let's look.
So let's
like
keep
the
going.
Financial side of things.
Yeah. So we know there's already this. She's fed up with it. She's, and in many ways, I want to affirm this desire. Here she is.
Sure.
She watched her dad set this amazing example. She herself probably is hopeful for marriage. She's taking care of her financial obligations, probably doing the right things, saving, investing, giving, budgeting. I'm assuming a little bit of that's going on because there's got to be a bit of savviness here to be even caring about this. Sure. And yeah, she's bumping into men that maybe want to go on a date, or maybe she has dated, and it's just coming across wrong. He's lacking ambition. It's the classic, I'm going to major in theology, have $100,000 in debt at the end of it. I'm going to be a youth minister, and will you be open to having my 10 children and be a stay-at-home mom? And she's sitting there realizing that just the math won't math there. It's not happening.
Yeah.
And women are rightfully frustrated to be put in a position like that. So I guess I want to acknowledge that.
So yeah, we've got that, but then also she's talking about, and we see, all right, the wife is the breadwinner, or even a breadwinner, right? Maybe the wife is we're going to have a stay-at-home parent. The woman makes more money, so she's going to be the one out working, and the guy's going to be at home. Or the guy is, right, he's got the theology degree, he's the youth minister, blah, blah, blah. And mom's got to work too, because that's not going to be enough money. So there's that reality going on right now that she's seen in, people who've gotten married.
Yeah.
And I think that's a reality we've seen in people who've gotten married.
Yeah, we have. I see a lot of questions that we get asked is, I want to become a stay-at-home mom, or we want someone to stay home because childcare is astronomical.
Yeah.
Or we either expense is astronomical, which it's crazy now. It's thousands a month for just 1 or 2 kids. I forget what it's gone up, but the inflation in that particular niche outpaced so many other things over the last 5 years. Or they just value having a parent be the one spending the majority of their time with their children.
Sure.
And so we get that question a lot, and then we look at the details of their financial reality and looking at the debt, looking at the budget, looking at what they're both taking home, looking at the reality of the place where they've chosen to settle, the cost of living in that area. Unfortunately, a lot of people are in a situation where, you actually are committed to 2 people working, or you need to uproot your entire existence and reality and consider a move to a much lower cost living area to even make that a possibility.
Yeah.
Or the one who is working, usually the husband, needs to do exactly what the dad did in this scenario of, we need to rework the trajectory of my career, or we need to have something else. I do see a lot of young wives, young moms, they're okay being the breadwinner for a season. They're okay with the girl bossing, but eventually it will bite them in the butt. Eventually, and this isn't every woman. I'm generalizing here, but most women will eventually get to a point where they reach kind of peak capacity with mom life, household responsibilities, getting everybody to this, that, or the other practice, taking care of the house, getting meals on the table, where they want to scale back from the girl boss or even the job. They want it to go part-time. They want it to be more in the margins of life instead of taking up so much of their life. And families have built their lives around requiring this, requiring that second income to either get out of debt, let alone, some of them is getting out of debt, some of it's savings, but some of it's a lot of it, most of it, is just paying the bills, not even making progress or headway. And that has created a situation where women are getting resentful of their jobs, and then in turn it can end up being directed at their spouse because you got me into this position. Why didn't you see the writing on the wall? I'm tapped out. I'm at max capacity, and now we still have to rely on my income. Where was the opportunity for you to make a shift so that we didn't need this 6, 7, 8 years down the road? We should have made a decision way earlier in our marriage where we were not reliant on this. If I wanted to keep doing it because it was a passion of mine and I loved serving people in this job or in this side hustle or whatever it was, great, but we should never have built this as a requirement. We should never have built our life on this. It should have just been bonus or extra. So anyway,
and
sorry.
You mentioned, this ties in a little bit with our conversations about student debt. And I think a lot of families do find themselves in this situation, especially initially, because they're both coming out of college. So we've got a ton of debt, and we're going to both be working in order to pay this off.
Right.
I've talked with a number of families where that's the situation where, I went to, grad school, I got this degree so I could do this thing, and I guess I'm going to do it now because, we're still paying for it. It's a tough spot that people are in. Now, there is something, I want to change this up a little bit.
Okay, change it up.
She's talking about, these guys that she's seen.
Schlups.
Yeah. And I will say, and this is the two, again, I don't want this to sound like I'm blaming her or anything or her situation or whatever, but it's just, I think, a reality contributing to what she's seeing and probably what a lot of other folks are seeing. But right, she starts off saying, right, boom, I'm a 27-year-old lady. Here's what I see. And I think 27 is a tough age because all those dudes that she's looking for who are on top of their stuff, who are working hard, who are successful, blah, 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 they're probably mostly taken by now.
Like they were serious about marriage, and they pursued women in their early 20s, discerned a vocation, and got married already. Is that what you're saying? That,
and then maybe just also the one would imagine dating markets like most any other, the best merchandise gets sold first, right? Like the best dudes usually are going to end up married sooner. They're
not always.
They're a great catch till they get caught. Not always. Not to say if you don't get married before 24, you're an idiot or, you weren't worth it. None of that's being said. But I think
the pool, it starts to shrink.
Yes. There's only so many fish in the sea. And
well, in the Catholic world, women outnumber the men. Absolutely.
Yes.
This has been a struggle for millennial women, Gen X women, faithful Catholic women. There just aren't as many
even at college,
faithful guys.
More women graduate college than
really?
Men. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
So that can be trouble there too. So I'd say then this would be like, all right, well, buck up, lady. That's just the spot you're in. But it's a contributing factor to why I think she's seen this. And I think maybe there's
guys that are 27
there's a little confusion of
single.
Is this just like all Catholic dudes? Maybe it's many of the Catholic dudes
that are currently
that
now
into.
Yeah, sure.
So
in some
that's
ways,
not helpful, I guess, to really point out. There's nothing you can really do too much about that.
Well,
so she could do about that right away.
Sure. I mean, you're looking for the diamond in the rough, the ambitious guy who just hadn't found his vocation. And maybe for one reason or another, it didn't work out. Maybe he just turned away from the seminary.
Sure.
There could have been,
he
was a missionary. Maybe he was exactly. He was in law school, med school. There could have been a variety of reasons that somebody would. You need to keep your standards high and look for the ambitious, solid men who are left.
What they need to do. Now,
peel off, the ones that are no good.
What I think is interesting is in this thing, she says, my dad went back to school early on in my parents' marriage for finance. His first career in teaching couldn't support the family and did very well. He's always said his primary goal for working his way up was to make sure we were taken care of.
Like, who cares what I'm doing? I just need something that takes care of my family.
But what's interesting here, and again, not to just give all these dudes a free pass, because they should have their junk together anyway. But at least from these couple sentences that I read from a stranger on the internet, maybe her dad was one of these schlubs.
He was the idiot.
He was the dope teaching.
Right.
I have a degree in teaching. Don't. I know.
You're never using it. You're never allowed to.
I know how bad an idea that was. So, yeah, he was this dope. What, you're teaching, and then at a Catholic school, it's even worse, money-wise.
Yeah.
That's not going to support a family. So maybe even the dad could be, if in time travel movie land,
he could have been
one of the dopes.
Yeah.
That just doesn't have his stuff together, but had his stuff together enough that when he saw the situation, he made the change he needed to make. He saw, this isn't going to work. Which of these things can I change? The income and the job associated to get that income, right? It's like, well, we can't get rid of a couple of the kids. So we need to change what we can change. And I want to talk about that decision and that discernment that he made right after this.
Join us at an upcoming workshop we are going to be leading live Wednesday evening, September 10th at 9 p.m. Eastern. It is called From Panic to Peace, a Catholic Game Plan to Escape Debt and Start Saving Again.
Ooh, that sounds good. Yeah, you're going to learn a strategy for creating a disciplined, virtuous money plan. You're going to get a step-by-step plan aligned with how God made your brain to get out of debt. And you will be able to learn how to transform your financial stress into peace and purpose. Even if you're struggling, if you're overwhelmed, you don't need to be anymore. That's, of course, why we are looking to bring you from panic to peace and give you that Catholic game plan to escape debt and start saving again. Please join us September 10th that evening. You can sign up now at walletwin.com/peace. That's walletwin.com/peace. And if you can't make it that night, do sign up because that's the only way you can get a recording.
Yes.
So that's walletwin.com/peace, and we'll see you September 10th.
Welcome back to the Catholic Money Show. We are talking about if Catholic men today are ambitious or are they just holier?
Holier. I'll take that.
We're going to get into that. We're going to chat about that. But you were in the middle of, before you took a break, talking about this Reddit thread, her father, and his discernment, and how he realized that kind of mid-vocation, he didn't have it all together. He wasn't 21 just saying, I need, $180,000 a year income for this hypothetical family I hope to have, and all the needs that are going to come with them. He didn't know that. But as that became his reality, probably a few kids in, probably an aging parent or two in, he decided to make this shift, this pivot, and put himself on a different trajectory that could financially take care of and absorb all of the needs and responsibilities that came with that.
Yes. What I think is...
So what might that look like?
Well, I've seen this. We've talked to so many folks, and I just see it too, of we've got we've got all this debt, we've got, these kids, it's this mortgage, all this stuff, we're just so pulled in every which way financially. But I am, the 7th grade teacher at this small Catholic school, and that's what we're going to do. That's where we're at, and we have to figure out how to make it work.
So it's kind of a digging of the heels in of, well, this is what God's provided, so we need to go ahead and we need to shoehorn our life by the budget provided by this one circumstance right here.
Yeah.
Almost like this thing, this work, this is unchangeable.
Yes.
Everything else has to fit its way around it. Instead of saying, like her dad did, Nope. This is my reality out here, and how I earn money, how I work, could give a rip about it. It needs to actually serve and be at the service of all of this life that's happening.
Yeah.
I do think that's hard though, because a lot of people, we're taught the conveyor belt, if you will, of, go to grade school, go to high school, go to college. You're on a conveyor belt for a career.
Mm-hmm.
You graduate, you get a job, and you're supposed to just stay in that. And I think some people, it's a challenge to admit maybe if it's just not working out, or the dream that they had is not providing for financially the actual realities of their vocation.
Mm-hmm.
That's a really humbling place to be, and it's frustrating, and it can be difficult to let go of a career. It can be difficult to have a dream die.
Mm. Yeah.
And so I do think it's why it's not the chosen path often.
Sure. And it doesn't, I think it could also be thought of as failure.
Yeah, sure.
Or it's just, I tried that. It wasn't working for us. We're going to try something else. Mm-hmm. I think maybe to a greater or even harder pivot or move to make is changing where you live.
Yeah.
Whether it's just, we got this house and it's just way too big and way too expensive for us. Or we need to move to a totally different state.
Yeah. Goodbye, Manhattan. Hello, Manhattan, Kansas.
Yeah. Goodbye, Alaska. Hello, Arkansas. So it's these changes that can seem impossible or like not even thought of, I think. A lot of times folks don't even think that this is one of the knobs they can twist in the situation.
Yeah.
But it definitely is.
Yeah.
And we saw, right, looking back on it now, of course, this lady, seeing what her dad and doing that, like, it's a laudable example. She sees it as a way he provided for her and the family as a good man, not a failure, not that he was a crappy teacher, not that he made a dumb decision becoming one. No, that he had great insight, seeing there were some other needs that weren't going to get met, and I'm going to do what I need to do so I can meet the needs.
Yep. So I do think more married men need to take after this example. They need to be able to assess a situation, and we're going to talk about that as we get a little more practical towards the end of the episode. How do you know when you need to make a pivot, and how do you actually pull it off? But I do think young Catholic men, I don't want to say nobody can study theology or philosophy or
we need
be a teacher. We do need people in those positions. The tricky part, though, is that, great, you do need to know the realities of that situation. Mm-hmm. So, great. If that is what you feel convicted to and called to pursue, awesome. You feel called to marriage as well. You're going to have a conversation with whoever you date and discern marriage with that, hey, because of this, the reality that my career is probably going to be, there's not a ton of upward mobility, probably going to be making a very average middle-class income, possibly even less. It is going to mean that you will likely always have to work. You are not going to be able to be a stay-at-home mom. That is just not going to be a reality for our family. And you need to know that. That should be an honest conversation up front. Don't put a woman who wants to be a stay-at-home mom in a situation like that, where she's just going to have to go work. It's just not, if she feels called to that's an early conversation you need to have and be honest about, and allow both parties to make that discernment. That's part of discerning your vocation. Yeah. If you feel like that is the hill you need to die on, there's no other path you want, or you need to be willing to be the guy who's going to have a side hustle. Mm-hmm. And not just like, I serve Uber Eats. This needs to be a lucrative side hustle where you're making up for, if she wants to stay home, you're making up for that lost income. Mm-hmm. You need to provide 2 full-time incomes. Yeah.
Or just other conversations too of let's keep going on this. Let's keep hating on theology degrees, right? Or it's like, yeah, you know what? We're probably going to kind of maybe struggle a little bit along for some years while, like I'm working at like a parish or, a school or something. And then hopefully, like we'll make a little bit maybe more if I'm working at a university, but that could take a while. And we'd probably just have to like go to wherever that job is and just make that choice. So that's like there's in really any career, there could be these dynamics. Or, hey, I'm even the really successful guys. Hey, I am this specialty kind of a doctor. There's 8 places that do this kind of thing, and we're going to have to live near one of them.
Yeah, sure.
And
Sure.
is that near family? Is that a place where you even want to live, et cetera?
Yes. You should talk these things out before you get engaged.
We're going to get a whole big old ball of wax here about
so much of
discussions
this
you should be
talked about
having
early enough.
as you are, discerning. Not once you're engaged,
No.
not once you're married, not once you've had 3 kids, way back early.
Yeah, but
And as much as you can, not knowing exactly what you'll do.
it creates a ton of pain, a world of pain when it's not discussed early enough. And some of these things can be discussed without knowing what the future is going to bring. Something else I was going to say with this situation and this discernment, if you do feel called to that lower paying thing, that kind of that education, youth ministry, whatever. The church in some places pays well, and it should pay better. Some places you have to fundraise. And if that's possible, that's amazing because you can kind of match your income with what your family needs. I think the church is starting to move in that direction too. That's a good thing. But something else that would be worth considering in that scenario is if we want to, we might not be able to have as many children as like you might hope, and I might hope, if I do plan on this path.
Or we're going to have to cram them into a tiny house.
Are you willing to do that? These are just, it's all hypothetical. We're not promised children. You might have infertility like we did. It just might be part of the calling or the cross that the Lord gives you. But you do want to just be realistic about these things as soon as you can. So either working a side hustle, possibly having a side business, and it's not a dirty thing. You don't have to feel ashamed about it. You might need some generational wealth. If sometimes we see families that were heiresses or had large trust funds, etc. It's not unusual for people in the line there to choose to just devote their life to education or philanthropic or charity work. That is sometimes when you're in that position, you have been given the gift of being able to do that with your life.
And the opportunity to serve.
Right.
By doing
and
that
not have to care what it pays you because you have offset that with this resource that your family has given you. I think that's beautiful. I think it's amazing when people do that. It's much more beautiful than when people just take a trust fund and waste it on
boats.
Sin, a life of sin, honestly, is what we see hailed in, on social media often.
Loose living.
Really, it is. So
A life of
if that, that could also be, if that is you, that could allow you to have that and not to be a burden to your family. I have met young couples like that where they're in a situation like that and they just want to continue to serve as missionaries or one stay-at-home spouse and the other just kind of doing education work or youth ministry because the trust fund bought their house. The trust fund gives them residual income every month, and they don't have to work. They're choosing to because it's a calling. And I think there's something really beautiful in that. So you just need to know, how are you going to say yes to God's will in your life and make sure that the income matches the calling? So anyway, those are things to consider because, just choosing poverty to avoid responsibility is not holiness. Could God call you to a simple life? Yes.
Absolutely.
But he's not going to call you to a life where you're going to have 9 children and you're not able to feed them. You're not able to put shoes and clothing on them. You're not able to provide them with an education. You're not able to invest anything into the development of something like music or a sport or something that could actually help them thrive as a human person, a cultural, educational experience. These things matter. These are just the basic needs. And as parents, we have to take that seriously. If we can't provide for those things, what are we doing? We need to go back to the drawing board. So anyway, I guess this is kind of a conversation on the opposite spectrum. Sometimes we talk about how, wealth motivated wrongly can be spiritually dangerous. Poverty motivated wrongly can be spiritually dangerous.
Or poverty incorrectly not chosen, poverty incorrectly accepted.
God didn't ask you to choose that, to like take that path.
Mm-hmm.
You just kind of defaulted into it through your own lack of ambition, unwillingness to discern the situation, no insight. Like this can happen, especially to certain temperaments.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes you just got to get a kick in your butt and get to work. Maybe that's what it is, right? Yeah, he's not gonna call you to have 9 kids and can't feed them, but it might not also be 9 kids and are having caviar every night. It could be 9 kids and now you're thinking, how do I feed them? And then you get to work.
Right. Yeah, again, going back to the Reddit post, she talks about like her parents still live in the house that they raised their kids in. Mm-hmm. It was not some life of luxury. I guarantee you some people shared rooms. We're not talking about that. I'm talking about, 9 children and there was literally 1 bed. I'm not talking about keeping things simple. I'm not talking about not just, basic. That's fine. That's more than fine for families to choose a very simple existence, to be detached, to know that things are going to be tight. But there's a difference between tight but still practicing really solid financial stewardship and tight because you just didn't think it through and you don't have a plan.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
There's a huge difference, massive difference. Yeah. And I would say, as we pivot this conversation into a bit more practicals, most Catholics lack financial formation.
Yes.
This young lady, I would say she's been exposed to decent financial formation just through this witness of her father. Mm-hmm. Again, I don't know the specifics, but the fact that she picked up on this shows me that she's been considering this. A lot of Catholics don't have financial formation, so they don't even know what they should be thinking through when they pick a career path, when they discern what it is that God's asking them to do in their life. Mm-hmm. They're just kind of thinking that money will flow in somehow because that's what jobs do, instead of thinking about what their vocation might be and making sure the income trajectory is going to be matching that.
Yeah.
And then, so there's lack of formation around just how finances are going to play out in a vocation, whatever it might be. And then, how do I know when to pivot if I'm in that crunch? Maybe I was like this dad. I missed the early decision, and now here it is. Kids are piling on. Responsibilities are adding up. Parents are becoming disabled. Special needs are arising. How do I know when to pivot? And then how do I pivot? You want to speak into this a bit?
Well, you just, first, it's a foundational financial education. You need to know what's going on, how to handle the money, how to know how much would we need, what's the budget going to look like, and then, all right, it's going to require this much spending every month. Looks like I need a new job.
But you just mentioned the word budget.
Yes, I did. The plan for your money, knowing what you're going to do with the bucks that come in so that you have them in the right place for when it's time for them to go out. Mm-hmm. You need to know, there's just kind of the plumbing for a family's money to know how it works, where it goes, how it comes in, and make sure it goes where it needs to go. And that's what we like to talk about. Mm-hmm. So if this is a first or an early episode for you with us, well, make sure you're following the podcast. You listen to a bunch, and it's what we do, and it was what we do in the book we wrote. It's what we do in Catholic Money Academy. It's what we do in all the courses we do. This is why we exist, because we want families to thrive. We want people to be provided for. We want to help you be in charge of your household, taking care of those under your charge. That's why we're here.
Yeah, we want to. The reason we even started Catholic Money Academy back in the day, 2017, was because we were sick of people coming to us saying, our bank account keeps telling us we can't follow God's will. What?
I don't think the bank account has that much authority.
No. We hear God's call, and then the bank account has to reflect that reality. We reorient the numbers to reflect that. And so we've been doing that with our own life since 2012, when we got out of debt, began saving, began investing, ramped up our giving, built savings for different things, etc. And I would say even our own story was a little bit, we began our married life fundraising, working for a nonprofit organization, but then realized we were dealing with likely permanent infertility. That has now played out, but we began to feel a call to become entrepreneurs, to provide that Catholic financial formation in the church. But the path we were on financially as nonprofit members,
Family
staff,
profit.
there's not a world where we would have been able to cash flow 4 adoptions, possibly 5, God willing, if we grow our family again, or more. But entrepreneurship has certainly changed that trajectory for our family. And we knew we needed to find a different path, just like this man, to be able to provide for the things we felt like God was asking us to do in our own life, and as well as in service to the church. Yeah. So don't be afraid if that's you. If you're feeling like, oh my goodness, we are just trapped and we're getting slowly suffocated financially. That is a lot of people right now. We're here. We want to keep having these conversations. If you are a young man and you don't want to be the lack of ambition guy, and you want to be the guy who is on top of your game, you are a good, prudent, faithful steward with your finances, and whatever vocation you're called to, you want to learn about this and make sure you've got this figured out, we're here for you.
That's right.
For the young ladies who are still discerning your vocation, and you don't get a free pass and just, a lot of times young women, they just want to meet a guy and him take care of your financial problems. And then you just get an allowance from him for the rest of your life. No. That's not good stewardship either. You're preparing yourself to make a gift to your spouse as well, if that's what you're called to, or to the religious community that you're called to, men as well. So that there's so much reason to just begin working on your finances from a young age, being that good steward from the very first paycheck that you earn, even if it's when you're 21 at your first job, being the best, most prudent steward as possible. And so you do have to know those financial foundations, and we teach those. For those of you who are married and you're feeling this is a tense spot, or you're the responsibilities are adding up, we'd love to keep in conversation, and we'd love to go on that journey with you. So we are actually having a live training September 10th, 8 o'clock Central, 9 o'clock Eastern.
That's right.
And we're going to talk about how to pay off debt, how to build savings, even though inflation has seemed to eat it all up over the last few years, and how to do it with peace, not frantically, not pulling yourself up by your bootstraps, not freaking out and getting into a bunch of fights, how to do it with peace and sanity. So we're going to talk about that night. You can head on over to walletwin.com/peace to save your seat. If you can't make it live, no big deal. We will have a replay available for 96 hours following.
If you sign up, that's the only way to get that.
Right, yes. And I will just leak it here on the podcast. We are going to open up a special version of our online membership while we're on this. We do have something special we're going to do this fall for members who are inside of our academy. We'll share all the details first on the webinar. We'll email out some of those details later. Again, if you can't follow along live, but register, sign up. You'll be the first to know about what we're going to do this fall to add in a little bit of special accountability for all of our academy members. And you will also learn how to pay off that debt fast and how to build back your savings.
That's right. That's at walletwin.com/peace, or click the link in the show notes or below this video, walletwin.com/peace, and look forward to seeing you there.
Bye for now.